moving on here.
I thought this was interesting. I'm just going to talk about this briefly. This Alabama Democrat candidate, Andrew Heflin, he was arrested on 7 counts of unlawful use of absentee ballots. This is not fake news. This is not So here's the thing with the Democrats is they did if you remember 4 years ago, I'm not going to go super into this because they will take this video down, but their language was very careful. 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago in 2020, if you notice what they say, that there was no widespread voter fraud. They say that a lot. There is no evidence for widespread voter fraud. So not across. This is recent. This news is recent, by the way. Someone asked, when was this? And that's very specific language. So that what that means is that they can't deny that there isn't voter fraud in small pockets.
So it could be targeted in very specific swing state cities.
Yes. And you only need it to be in specific areas, right?
Yes.
So this guy right here was doing some shenanigans with absentee ballots, and he has been arrested because of it. Wow. And, one of Trump's policies is to really tighten up our elections. We need to have paper ballots. We need to have it all on one day and go back to how we used to do elections in this country. And yes, it does mean that some people may not be able to cast their vote, but they need to reorder their life to make it more of a priority. Yeah. Why are we accommodating people that don't care that much?
Yes, agreed.
They could be open from 6 a.m. to 12 at night. And all you got to do is get there and cast your paper ballot during that time. And I do think that there needs to be some accommodations for disabled people and stuff like that, but they need to show proof of that.
We do enough. I mean, considering how crazy this country is, if you ask me, we need to raise the standard for who's allowed to vote, but that's just me.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Okay, sorry.
This was interesting to me because when this last 20 days has been crazy because we're not allowed to say that Kamala Harris is a DEI pick.
Oh, yeah.
They hate that. They're like, Kamala Harris, you can't say that she earned that place. These people are freaking out if we say that she's a DEI pick. Yet, rewind to when Joe Biden was picking a running mate, and this is the headlines.
Yeah.
Biden says he is considering 4 Black women to be his running mate. You know what really makes me angry about all of this is, what about Asian women? I guess Kamala Harris is considered Asian too, so she checks that box.
Yeah, but she doesn't claim that part.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't. But I mean, what about people of other race besides Black? And same with the Supreme Court pit. Pressure goes on Joe Biden to pick a Black woman as his running mate. Biden says 4 Black women are on his list of potential running mates. Biden vows to select a woman as his running mate. So that is DEI.
It's textbook. She's the definition of a DEI hire.
When it means that you are not going to consider a white male, you are not going to, even if they're fully qualified, that is DEI. That is, wiping out the field for some people. You don't even get a chance, and then propping up another. In fact, I think right now, if you are a Black woman in America, you are probably one of the most, especially if you're left leaning, you're probably one of the most privileged people. If you're not
Black, right? Yeah, right.
Exactly.
According to them,
exactly. Yeah. But if you are a left leaning Black woman, you have doors open for you left and right. You have white leftists literally bowing down to you, which I've seen. And yet you can still claim to be oppressed, and you can still be mad when people even say that you could be a DEI person. And you know what? This was part of my awakening, because when I was in college, I was when I was getting my master's in education at UC Santa Cruz. And if any of you are from Santa Cruz, I was born and raised in Santa Cruz. I went to UC Santa Cruz. I was like the only person from Santa Cruz who went to UC Santa Cruz. And I got my master's of education there. And it was a really hard program to get into. And I think I had like a 3.2 GPA. I've never been that great of a student. Like, I just don't care that much about some of the stuff that these professors were trying to teach me. So I did enough. I did enough to pass the class, make sure my GPA was above a 3.0. And I had a 3.2. The average GPA for the program was 3.6 and above. 3.6 and above. I definitely had the lowest GPA I remember I sat down with my classmates and I sat down with them and we all shared our GPAs and our process to get into the program because it was hard. I think it was like 30 people out of like 3,000 or 4,000 people applying. And I had this one white guy, and this is when I was still on the left. So this was before, this is like 20 years ago. I had this one white guy go, "Oh, you only got in the program because you're Black." And I looked at him and I was like, "How dare you say that?" Because I had a 3.2 GPA, the lowest out of every single one of them.
He was pretty brave to say that to your face.
Yeah, he was brave to say that, but he was kind of like this, I don't know what I remember thinking he was a racist back then. I was left leaning. I mean,
But he was,
he was right. It was the truth. In fact, I remember in my essay, I totally pulled out the Black card. I was like, I pulled the Black card and I got in as a DEI. And you know what? It does create resentment. It creates resentment on both sides because when you get called out for it, they're like, "I'm not a DEI. I'm totally qualified." When you're not.
And then the guy is annoyed because he had to get a higher GPA to get in. And causes all kinds of problems.
Yeah. So anyways, here's the proof that it was a DEI hire. So, I mean, a DEI choice.
Yep. Okay. Moving on.
Yep. I don't check my messages that often. I thought this was a really cool thing to share with you guys. I don't check my messages on Instagram that often because I get a lot of hate. But when I do check them, I go back and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, whoa, especially when someone sends me a message and I realize that they have been sending me messages for a while. And there was one that was important. Well, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I found out about a woman who has 5 kids who was not able to get a kidney transplant because she didn't get the shot, the C19. So they took her off the kidney transplant list and they didn't let her get the shot. I mean, they didn't let her get her kid. She was dying, right? And this woman, Tracy, or one of my followers, told me about this, and I basically got the phone number of the facility of the hospital that was denying her kidney transplant, and I made a video about it with the phone number, and I also gave people a script because sometimes making those kind of phone calls are scary. You're just like, I don't really want to make this phone call. I know what that's like. So I gave people a script on what to say and call up this place outraged. And within 24 hours, they changed the COVID requirement.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a big win.
This actually happened twice. I did this twice. This was when they were still doing that. And luckily they're not doing that anymore. But I just, the impact that you can make on social media, that, sharing about these stories. And this is why they want to silence us. And also seeing this for me has been really good because this is not easy what I do. I don't enjoy it. I'm not someone that has ever wanted to be a conservative commentator. It's not like I want to, be a big, huge name in the conservative movement or whatever. But I've realized that every voice needs to speak up right now. And being reminded of what the kind of impact you can have when you do make that decision to speak up. So I just want to share that with you guys because I missed this message that was sent to me that they changed the requirement on the.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, and so speaking of awful messages, this is the ones I've received this last week. You're on their side, bedwenchery pay, I suppose. They love calling Black conservatives bedwench. You're a bigot and a liar. That's why you're getting all the hate. I don't know if you owe the Russians money or something, and that's why you're lying. But if you do, I pity you.
People are creative. They have very fertile imaginations.
Kali is a white supremacist. The very definition of internalized racism, a groveling, supplicating shill.
The vocabulary is good.
Yes. And I actually, you know what? I think that Black conservatives get called white supremacists more than actual card-carrying white supremacists. And then this one, it's hard to read. You would do anything to be accepted by them. Pitiful. Anyways, so this is kind of what I'm dealing with in my messages. Part of the reason why I don't check them.
This is the stuff that Kali saves to her phone.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We can move on. Oh, this I thought was really stupid. This is the Harvard Business Review. U.S. firefighters are overwhelmingly white and male. Here's why that needs to change.
So crazy. So crazy.
What do you guys think? Do you think it needs to change? I'm like, I'm cool with that. Like, can we keep having the alpha white male be firefighters? Sure. Like, what do we don't need DEI firefighters? Like, let's not go there. We're already doing it with our pilots. Let's just stick with and you know what? If that's the career they gravitate towards, that's the career they gravitate towards. And like, why are they being condemned for that? You know, like that's a good thing that we have a lot of white men who want to be firefighters. And thank you for doing that. It's not easy
That's
work.
ridiculous.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
There's a reason why it's overwhelmingly white males, because there's a lot of us that don't want to do it. So God bless you guys. If you're a firefighter, God bless you. Like, anyways, we can move on from that because that's just Pelosi.
All right, here we go.
President Biden should be added to Mount Rushmore. What do you think of that, Joshua?
President, yeah, this is it. It just shows, you know, on the one hand, it's like, okay, this is insane. She's commenting on him dropping out, and so he's like the biggest patriot on the planet for dropping out. And
that was so cringe when that was
apparently
happening.
He should be on Mount Rushmore because he was willing to drop out. So that's basically what this is. But it just shows that Democrats reward their people for obedience and for helping their agenda, whereas, you know, oftentimes on the right, people get thrown under the bus for, you know, being too conservative, or, you know, and rhinos do that kind of stuff all the time. And yeah, I don't know.
But that's something.
Obviously, this is insane, though. Yeah,
but there's something to be said about our side that we aren't such a monolith.
It's true. It's true.
And that's not how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to all put on masks, all believe there's more than two genders. All that's how it is. The left is. They're just like everyone. All think that abortion is healthcare. All think, you know what I'm saying? Like they all kind of step in line. Let's all unite behind Kamala. I mean, I can't even tell you how many blue hearts I've seen in the last like 20 days. They're like the blue heart cult. They're just like so into her. They're so happy, and they're so like. She doesn't even have any policy on her website. Like there's no policy. It's just asking for donations. She's never even done an interview since she's announced her running. But anyways, so that's where we're at. And our side definitely has more division because we're free thinkers.
Exactly.
Anyways,
and the people who do want everyone to be on the same page on the right are usually the people who are more on the rhino side, and they want conformity.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Total loony bin.
Yeah.
Loony bin.
Someone asked me, do I report these vile comments? I do report them, and they never come back as a violation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just let them abuse me.
Good question. Yeah.
This is something that I am not seeing a lot of people talk about. The Venezuela election that happened.
Yeah, it came on the news and then it disappeared. And it's like, what happened?
Maduro's still in power. Like they're done.
Yeah.
So the opposition party, they won. I mean, I don't even know if I can say this without being censored, but this, you can look at
it seemed like it was like a 30%. It was wasn't even close.
Our school has a lesson on what happened in Venezuela, which is so good about this, because they used to be one of the most prosperous countries in South America.
They were like South America's USA, like mini version. Yeah.
And in the 90s, they had a communist revolution pretty much. Mm-hmm. And everyone thought it was gonna be great. It started off as great. They gave universal basic income. The government took over. They did price control.
They nationalized everything. Yeah. By the way, full disclosure, that's when I was a leftist back. I was in college at the time. And I was so into Chavez. I remember having one of his like little pamphlet books and just be like, "Yeah, Hugo Chavez.
I'm so glad we never met when you were.
Isn't that crazy? We were both leftists growing up. Yeah, I mean, we grew up in California. We're both minorities. It's just kind of that's what everyone thinks, you know. And it was like, yeah, he's gonna share the wealth of all of the like oil money in Venezuela and give like free everything, and then shortly thereafter, the whole country falls apart. I'm glad I'm not a leftist anymore.
Yeah, and I definitely want to go into this more on my channel at some point because it's such a good lesson for what could happen to this country. And I know most of you have heard this saying that you can vote for communism in, but you can't vote it out. And
That's Venezuela
socialism,
right now.
communism, yeah. And so what happened is now the opposition party, her name is Maria, I think Maria Machado, yeah. She's in hiding right now, at least the last I heard of. She's in hiding.
How it works.
She's afraid for her life. And apparently she overwhelmingly won. But then Maduro said, no, actually 51% of votes were for me, and I remain in power. And then there was protests on the street, and he started arresting the protesters.
Yeah,
throwing them in prison, throwing them in high security prison. You are gone. And I think that's what they did here. They started it with January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
That was a warning. That
was a warning.
How
we just stopped protesting. That's what
there was someone. This isn't in the mainstream news either, but someone just got sentenced to 20 years.
Yeah,
who was at January 6th. Now, mind you, I think he was violent, but 20 years is very excessive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. I mean, he didn't kill anyone, and he wasn't like, I don't know exactly the specifics of his case, but he got 20 years in prison for what he did on January 6th. So that was a warning. There was that elderly woman that was basically walked in and walked out, and she got 60 days prison sentence.
Those are all warnings. Those are all warnings. Crazy, unconstitutional
all warnings.
Stuff.
Yep, 20 years. So let this be. I firmly believe that this is a gift. I mean, I feel sorry for Venezuela, but I also want people to see what can happen.
Well, it's a wake-up call for us.
Yeah, how quickly, because they brought in socialism. It was a capitalist country that brought in socialism.
Yep.
And how quickly it can completely destroy a country. And now, I mean, it is so sad there. What's the only thing that's saving that country right now is the American dollar. So if our American dollar collapses, then there's so many countries around the world that are going to really suffer. So we can move on from that. But yeah, that's Venezuela. Oh, this is another really awful story. You guys know about the Planned Parenthood story?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, can we even talk about this one?
The video's been going viral, so I think that they're not taking it down.
This is a horrible.
But this really goes into
this one story
character
alone should be enough to destroy her candidacy.
True.
It would have like 10, 15 years ago. And now it's like, it's not even in the news. But anyway, go ahead.
So basically, Planned Parenthood is using body parts of babies and selling them. And this guy, this undercover journalist, he pretended to be part of the center pretended to be part of a company that buys these parts. And video was released a while ago. This was like 5 years ago. This was a while ago, that showed some of the undercover footage that he took of Planned Parenthood people admitting that they do this. And instead of being praised as a hero for exposing this, he was, and just to make sure I don't get fact checked, because they are fact checking this.
Yes.
Kamala Harris started the investigation. She actually ended up going to the Senate before the charges were actually put on this man. So that's where they're fact checking you, because if you say that she's the one that pressed the charges on him, they'll say, no, that's a fact check. She didn't do it. It was the guy that was after her, right? But her office started the investigation to press the charges. So do not take this video down for that.
Yeah.
Like,
and she just
overlords.
She couldn't finish it, obviously, because she left her office as AG and went to the Senate.
But he has been fighting in court since then. This poor guy's life has been a nightmare since then for exposing the sale. Anyways, a new video has come out. And it's these girls at some sort of conference looking.
Yeah, that's the most recent one.
And it's more disturbing than the one that was released 5 years ago. And they're basically talking about how they're excited when they see full intact organs of the baby, and how, they're like, wow, we sound so evil doing this. And of course they look like DEI hires, just to be very clear on this. But
you have a slide on that as well as the next one, or
no, that's different. Okay. But anyways, so this story really exposes the character of Kamala Harris. I don't care if you are pro-life or pro-choice. you need to have this. This should be something that seems disgusting to you.
Well, she's a sociopath. If you
Yes.
ask me, the lady, she's clearly like, it's power.
Yeah.
That there's, say what you want about Trump. Obviously, I don't agree with everything. Nobody agrees with anyone on everything. But even if you don't like him, the guy, like, he took a bullet for the country. Like, the guy is like losing money to run for office. He's being threatened with hundreds of years in prison. He's clearly he's had the same message for 40 years.
Yes.
The guy clearly is trying to do what he thinks, and I happen to agree with him, is going to help this country. Whereas Kamala, it's power. Like anyone who can look at that woman and look at her record and not see she's just clearly a power hungry sociopath. I mean, textbook definition politician who goes into office because they want money and power. That's her. There's no conscience there. I mean, you could just see it. And this story just illustrates it so clearly. I don't know.
Pretty gross.
It's insane.
She also looks like Jar Jar Binks. Someone said that to me, and I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it.
I've heard that one too.
Yes. Okay.